Knowledge is king. Knowledge is king.
All right, welcome back to the second episode of my paint correction and ceramic coating series. Last episode, we decontaminated the paint, used some Iron X on it, and clay barred the entire car. Now it's silky smooth, all contaminants are off, so that when we polish the paint, we're not gonna grind in any contaminants into the paint and possibly make it worse. So now that we have a clean slate, today I'm gonna show you how to compound and polish your car. It's not as hard as you think. I know you think that you might need to be an expert super detailer to use power tools on your car, but it's not bad at all. All you gotta do is practice and start with the least aggressive methods before moving up so you can get a feel for things. With modern day cars, the paint's a little harder than it used to be in the old days, plus we've got the second layer, which is clear coat, and that is what we're polishing and compounding. You want the right tools, of course. An orbital polisher is most important to minimize damage to your paint. If you use a rotary polisher, you're more likely to damage your paint unless you have quality techniques. I don't, I've never been trained in it, so I use an orbital polisher and it's really hard to mess up, honestly. I just use this really basic Harbor Freight model. I know it's the cheapest thing out there, but it works fine for me who's using it once every year or two. Now, there are other products that are definitely much better quality and well worth it if you're gonna do a lot of this, especially if you're a professional, of course. Look into Rubez polishers, they're pretty cool, but expect to spend $150 to $300 at least for a quality polisher. And maybe I'll get there one day, but for now, good old Harbor Freight's holding up for me. As far as pads go, huge assortment out there. I know it's really tough to decide. You'll just have to do a lot of research, but I am sticking with basic Meguiar's products. I know it's off-the-shelf product that seems like you can just get at AutoZone. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Meguiar's has been proven for a long time, and most professionals know that Meguiar's works. It's not bad for your paint, it works. It could have its own idiosyncrasies that maybe other polishes and compounds may be better at, but it totally works and there's nothing wrong with using it. If you go to a company like Adams, they have like a whole assortment of polishes for all sorts of different occasions, and it can be difficult to choose. But with Meguiar's, I'm just sticking with their classic 205 polish and 105 compound. They have a few more formulas out there, but those are the two most basic, and honestly, they get the job done. So our goal today is to compound out any swirls from the car, then go back and polish out anything that the compounding left, and then our car should look perfect, and we'll seal it in with ceramic coating in the next episode. So let's get to compounding and polishing. All right, one of the first things you need to do before you start compounding or polishing is prep your pads. So let's take a look. All right, we've got our polisher with our backing plate on. I think this is the 5-inch backing plate. Yeah, and it's just Velcroed back here. And then this is Meguiar's microfiber pad. Now in the past, I've used this compounding pad. This is by Meguiar's as well, but this is a foam one. And it didn't quite get all the swirls out that I wanted to, the heavier ones at least. So it's recommended that if you need to do a little more heavy duty work, go with the microfiber pad. So this is actually the first time I'm gonna be using one of these. We'll see how they do. Otherwise, this is a little softer. And then of course, after that, you would go to a polishing pad, which is even softer. So first, start off by getting your pad on there as centered as possible. Give it a spin, you can see how much wobble there is. That's pretty good for me. And then I like to get it prepped with a little bit of quick detailer, just to lightly take the dryness out of it, and I can rub that in with clean hands. And then we need to load the pad. So for our first product, we're using Meguiar's Ultra Cut Compound. It's called Meguiar's 105, and you can get it in large bottles as well, kind of like this one. But this is the Ultra Finishing Polish, and they got this cool little arrow, of course. The bigger the red arrow means the harder it's gonna cut into your paint. So you wanna get some on the pad and get it prepped. And you wanna work it in there. Really get it into the fibers to get it started, because this is a fresh pad. Later, of course, as you go to every panel of the car, you don't have to do this because the pad will already have worked in its own compound. So just kind of getting all these fibers sort of preloaded, not too crazy yet. And then before we start on the car, we're gonna just put a dab in the center and maybe 4 or 5 around the edges here. And this may not be enough at first. We'll find out how quickly it starts drying out as we polish the car, but this is where we're gonna start for now. This is a scan grip detailing light. It's got 2 color temperatures, a lighter, like kind of whiter bluish color for cool temps, and a warmer yellower color for warm temps. The brighter, whiter color is great on the darker paint. You can check out my review. I did a whole review on detailing lights. Check out that video. Link is somewhere right there, maybe? Yeah. And yeah, this is 125 bucks, but you can get something very comparable for only 50 bucks on Amazon. All right, so we've already got our pad set up here, and now we're just gonna get a cable over our shoulder here so it's not rubbing against the paint of the car, and dab it on a little bit here. Get some dabbing going. And then once you've done that, we're gonna start it with the switch, but we're gonna make sure that we're set to the slowest setting, otherwise it's just gonna spatter the compound everywhere. And you can start slow and get it moved around, and then pick up the speed. And then notice I slow it down and turn off the machine while it's still on the car. Otherwise, again, you're gonna splatter stuff all over. Now that may have been a little too much compound, we'll see. No, it's okay, it's drying out a little bit though. So I'm gonna get a microfiber towel and wipe this up and see how we did. When you're doing this process, you gotta have a lot of microfiber towels, so definitely order a whole bunch, but try not to get the cheap things, the minimal price ones. Go to a good detail website, maybe Chemical Guys or Obsessed Garage, and get a bunch of good towels. This is kind of dry already, so maybe I could have used a little more polish, and then I'm gonna use this. This is CarPro Eraser. It's mostly isopropyl alcohol, but this is gonna help really pull off the oils left by the polisher. All right, let's look at this panel here. So we've got our detailing light and we can reflect it back and look for swirls. There's still one mark right there. I don't know what's going on with that mark. I might have to work that one a little better, but I can see that there's definitely an improvement, but I'd like to do this panel again. I can still see some areas. And this is kind of what takes the most time, is sitting here eyeballing this and burning your retinas. Over here you can see there's definitely more swirls because I didn't work that area, and over here it's much smoother. All right, that's sort of your primer on how this works with the polisher. I started with compound, I knew I was going to, but you may want to start with polish first and then move on to compound if the polishing isn't quite cutting it, which it generally won't if your car's never been touched before. And I'm going to do it again. You notice I did about 4 passes each way in a grid, and if it's not enough, just do it again. It's better to not do enough than to do too much on your first round. After I do that, I'm actually going to do the real first step, and that is tape off all the plastics of the car anywhere I don't want to get polish on. And so that's its process in itself, and we'll knock that out in time lapse. This is 3M automotive masking tape. It's a lot like blue painter's tape, but a little more flexible, and it's definitely better in this situation. I like the wide and narrow. You're basically looking to tape up anything you don't want to polish, or most importantly, get polish residue on, and it's hard to clean up, like in small cracks or on rubbers and plastics. And by the way, I'm not taping the front of the car because I'm not polishing it, because it has paint protection film on it. As your pad gets a little loaded up, it's not really effective. So you want to either brush it out, and you can get a pad brush, or you can blow it out if you have compressed air. So just run it for a little bit. And you can see the residue here as it all dusts out. So it'll make a little bit of a mess, but now the pad is fluffy again, ready to be used. here's a tip about working with your car, especially the Cadillac here, and that is, you know, these big discs are great, but you definitely need the 3-incher in some areas. However, whenever you work on a panel like this is great, all this area here, but as you get up to this crease line here, that's where you need to be careful with your polisher. If you are working over this edge like this, the edge is getting all the pressure, and so a lot of pressure exerted here means it's getting polished extra hard, and you may not want to do that. Even as you work up close to it like this, it can kind of be a little more degrading to the edge. So just beware of that. And when you work, you know, just work around the edge. You don't need to work that edge so hard. There's not as many swirls to see in that section. So you may work it here and then work up here separately, or get the smaller pad to work this area. Now, another thing you want to pay attention to when you're polishing is the speed. This thing's going to slow down if you put too much pressure, and you'll see kind of, you know, the imagery of the disc spinning. And then if you press too hard, you'll see the image kind of shift, kind of like wheels spinning on camera, how they shift, and sometimes they look like they're going backwards. Kind of the same thing. So look for that to identify if you're pressing too soft or too hard. Not liking about the Meguiar's, especially with the microfiber pad, is it's definitely drying a lot, which may mean that maybe I've gone too long with it on there, but I'm not going on there very long with it, and that's the problem. It shouldn't dry out quite this fast. And so I'm resorted to using my CarPro eraser to help get some of this polish residue off, and it really fills up my towels, and I'm going through a lot of towels, so that's a little annoying, and I'm not sure if other brands would quite do that as much. I want to show you something here by my back wheel. Here's the signs of autocross. You see those lines, those horizontal lines? That's all from cones whacking the car at speed. So I missed those on the compounding. I'm gonna have to work on that area. Primarily that area, the rear haunch area, because I'm trying to hit as close to the cone as possible with the rear tire on a lot of turns, so have to take care of that. So for sections hard like the cones, the compounding wasn't doing it, so I have gone over it with 2000 grit sandpaper, lubricated with water, and yeah, that looks really scary. I know it looks really bad, but what I did is I cut down the clear coat just a bit to get rid of some of the scratches, but I see some right there, There's still some cone scratches, so I'll hit a little more, and then we'll hit it with the compound, and it should take the sandpaper scratches out. And we'll hit it with the polish, and we'll take the polish scratches out. All right, now that we're compounded and polished out the sanding marks, most of them are out. I might need to go just another round or two with the compounding, but it's looking a lot better, and those horizontal lines are pretty much gone.
Now, as needed, you'll want to swap over to a smaller pad, so make sure you have a smaller backing plate like this 3-incher. This will help you get into tighter spots, and it's definitely a lifesaver. As needed, it's really important you take the car outside into the sun and check out the paint. You're not going to see everything in your garage, especially if you have poor lighting. Put the car in the sun, look at the paint in the sun, and then look at the paint in the shade. Move the car around so it gets different angles of light, and I promise you're going to find things you didn't even notice before. In this instance, I'm glad I took it outside because I wouldn't have seen these holograms otherwise. That's these sort of glare marks in the paint, and they come from poor technique with the polisher. As you do this for a while, you get a little tired and it's easy to stop focusing on the important fact that you need to keep the pad level on the surface. If you get it at an angle like this, it's gonna start creating these holograms, and you don't wanna seal those in with your ceramic coat. Luckily, they can be easily corrected by just going over them again properly.
For polishing, we're using Meguiar's 205 Ultra Finishing Polish, and it goes on the same way. We'll prime our pad, maybe put like an X on it like this, although that's quite a bit for a small pad, but you want to work this in just to get it started, because after the pad is done some polishing, I mean, it's going to work in the polish, right? But since this is the first time you use it, you got to give it a head start. And once you got that done, then you can put in your appropriate amount. So maybe your pea size drops like that will do.
The underside of my diffuser is gloss black, and it gets abused and you can really see it in the black. So here it is polished on the right and not polished on the left. It really makes a difference. And here it is finished. Once I thought I was done polishing, I took it out again to inspect the paint. Once everything looks good, it's time to move on to the next step. These supplies can last a long time if you properly take care of them. At the end of the day, always wash your pads in an all-purpose cleaner and water solution or special pad cleaner. You can put your really dirty microfibers in there as well. Otherwise, be sure to research proper microfiber towel care. Use CarPro Eraser or an isopropyl alcohol solution to go back and do a detailed cleaning of any compound and polishing residue left over. You don't want that to dry in place. It's a lot harder to clean off later. After that, you can enjoy the beautiful shine of your paint, and it's time to lock it in with ceramic coat.
All right, now that the paint correction process is done and the finish is perfect, you don't want to drive the car yet. You need to seal in that beautiful finish with a good wax sealant or ceramic coating like we do in the next video. Now, the process was pretty straightforward, but it does require a lot of labor, as you can see, and I hope this helps you appreciate why detailers are going to charge you $1,000 or more to do a paint correction and ceramic coating on your car. Now, you will have to open your wallet to buy some extra supplies in addition to the already hopefully quality supplies you have for washing your car, but in the end it still costs much less than having somebody else do it, plus you get the satisfaction of doing it yourself. So if now you feel like you're ready to gather the supplies and knock this out yourself on your car, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of my future videos, one of which will of course be ceramic coating my Cadillac CTS. You'll see it's way easier than the paint correction, and it makes your car look amazing. All right, thanks for watching the Jet Fuel Only channel. I'll see you next time.